Okay, Butch, so let's welcome our Patriots Insider, Jeff Howe from The Athletic Boston, who's in Philly. And, Jeff, we're going to start with the whole Tom Brady thing because we find it interesting. It took a long time for him to come to the dais, and when he finally did to answer some questions, he was only there for less than 2 minutes. He seemed really upset. Why do you think we got that version of Tom Brady tonight?
Once again, they were sub 50% in the red zone, and a lot of that, or some of that, was because of Julian Edelman's drop. And their final 6 possessions of the game, they go 3 and out 3 times. One of those was foreplay and then punt possession. They got the ball back with less than 2 minutes to go and had a chance to run out the clock, 3 and out. So they couldn't do that. They struggled to get a consistent running game. The only touchdown of the game came off of a trick play. It was another slow start. So I think all of that compounded with, some of the issues that they've had throughout the season, and it's been a difficult adjustment for Brady. I mean, there was a point in the fourth quarter after Philip Dorsett suffered a concussion. Mohamed Sanu was limited because of an injury that he suffered earlier in the game on a punt return, although he said he was going to be all right. He wasn't on the field, so Brady takes the field with Matt Lacoste, a backup tight end, 2 rookie receivers, N'Keal Harry, who's making his NFL debut, and Jacoby Myers, who was an undrafted player and has basically been 4th or 5th on the depth chart. And you just see that the weapons that he's working with, it's not as high octane as they probably once hoped it would be earlier in the season when they were a little healthier.
Tom, I'll tell you, the Patriots are 5 or 16 on third downs on offense. The most deceptive stat, though, Jeff, I find, Brady was sacked only once and he was hit only 6 times. He was under so much more pressure than that.
When Brady was under pressure, he wasn't very accurate. There were a couple balls that he missed to running backs in the flat when it looked like he basically shanked the throw. So some of these concerns that I'm sure Brady has are on him as well. I mean, he certainly didn't have a perfect day. But, on the other side of that coin, when you don't have a full ability to trust the guys who are out there running routes just because of a lack of chances to work with them, I mean, Sanu looks great, but he's still only been here less than a month. It makes it more difficult for Brady to operate under pressure. When the offensive line breaks down and you have a backup left tackle, or basically a left tackle who is literally plan 7 starting the season, you've got a backup center. You might not always know where the breakdowns are going to come, where you're going to be able to slide up and around the pocket. You don't know where the guys running the routes are going to break off and if they're going to do the same things that Brady wants them to do. I mean, for instance, there was one play early. It was actually Harry's second catch. He was the first option, and he was open. Brady didn't want to go to him. He tucked the ball, escaped a little pressure, and then finally went back to Harry. There was another play later in the game, I think in the fourth quarter, when Jacoby Myers ran the wrong route. A couple plays when Brady the cornerback jumped the route, almost led to a turnover. So some of these mistakes are just happening repeatedly week by week. And again, that goes back to the frustration level.
Gloom and doom, there's been a lot of it in this conversation to start, but we do need to take a step back. A 9-1 team who just went down and faced a very energized Eagle team coming off a bye themselves. And they fell behind 10-0 and they rallied. So yeah, can we poke holes in what they did, Jeff? For sure. But generally speaking, besides what we saw from Tom Brady at the podium, what was the mood in the locker room? How did most of the guys feel about the fact that they did go on the road, they did come back, they did beat the Eagles, they did, in a way, avenge the Super Bowl 52 loss in a way?
Well, the defense was happy and the offense was similar, although not as dramatically angry as Brady. But, there were some guys on the offense who I think, especially the veterans, the way that you saw them talk and act, you could tell that there was some frustration there. I mean, the defense got back after it, and they were in a much better mood than they were 2 weeks ago for obvious reasons. I mean, you look at the way the Eagles started the night. Like you mentioned, the environment. Yeah, this was an electric place. This was a city that kind of felt that if they were going to be able to make a second half run, it was going to start against the defending champs in a game that's become a pretty decent rivalry in the last couple of years. And they start off with a 49-yard defensive pass interference penalty on Jason McCourty that sets up that field goal. 2 possessions later, they scored a touchdown march. It was the 3rd time in the last 2 games the Patriots had allowed a touchdown march of 8+ minutes, and they did it from buried in their own 5-yard line. Then the defense comes back, and they have 10 consecutive scoreless possessions. So this defense tightened some things up. Their run defense was a lot better. They were able to tackle really well with that short passing game. Did a lot of that without Patrick Chung who was back in Foxborough with the heel and chest injuries, which was difficult to do against a tight end centric offense. And I think a part of the reason why they played so well, especially down the stretch, was Stephon Gilmore manned up on Zach Ertz and took their top target away. And again, Ertz struggled to gain any separation, and that's when you saw Carson Wentz have a lot of those accuracy issues.
Jeff, you sort of just answered this, but talk more about the defensive adjustments they made, because after that long touchdown drive, which, by the way, was the longest one a Bill Belichick defense has given up in 8 years, they said on the broadcast, they sacked Wentz 5 times. They hit him 12 times. They held him to 3 for 13 on third down. What did they do to change things after that?
Well, a big part of that was the pass rush, but the Eagles lost Lane Johnson, their right tackle, in the 3rd or 4th possession of the game. Jason Peters went down later in the game, but they really started to take advantage of that backup right tackle. That's where a lot of the pressure was coming off of. And again, they really made Wentz vulnerable, and he showed a lot of inaccuracies. I mean, Carson Wentz, I thought, quite frankly, should be a better quarterback than he's showing, but the pressure the Patriots are consistently putting on quarterbacks in any uniform has been pretty consistent throughout this season. Wentz just couldn't handle it.
Good stuff, Jeff. Appreciate it as always. Should be a fun week. Butch, you made a great point. They got 4 home games left, and that's a big advantage this Patriots team's going to have. It starts next Sunday against the Cowboys, and we, of course, will be dipping into your knowledge base throughout the week and after next week's game. So thanks a lot. Safe travels.